Hi everyone, Essie Smith here. I'm trying out a new microphone system, so hopefully everyone can hear me. If you can't, please let me know. I figured if I did this that you'll have a little bit better sound quality. So I'd like to wish everyone a welcome to February 2018. Can you believe that I'm still trying to figure out what happened to January. So a lot is going on this year. I was going to talk to you about, of course, I just had my new release for the third book in the Seven Kingdoms. That was the series that I mentioned in my newsletter that I had written some of the short stories, but they were very, very short. And I realized that, the world and the characters just needed so much more. They deserved so much more. And when you find characters that are that, vivid, heartwarming, then you know that you've got to share it. One of the things that came about in those stories are my love for fantasy. I've always loved, the magical realm and the mermaids. I'm like going crazy trying to find mermaid books. So I like books that have got dragons and mermaids and, pirates. And then, I came up with Nalia and Ashur, which is the Pirate King. I've got to write Ashur's story and Nala's story. And so as it started progressing, I learned more about the characters like Ruth. Oh my God, you talk about, she's one of those people, her story is going to be Ruth and the King of the Giants. And she's one of those people that have got that really dry, sarcastic, she's really, really smart. Most guys can't handle her because she is so, smart about things. And I know I've got a little bit of a glare. I think it's a combination of my iPad and my screen, but if I take my glasses off so that you guys could actually see my face, I can't see you guys. So things get kind of like blurry at this distance. So you're going to have to deal with me if I've got a bit of a glare. So anyway, I came up with Ruth, and I learned so much more about her in writing A Witch's Touch. Her relationship with her brother Mike, her snarky personality, the fact that she's quick-witted. She reminded me in some ways a lot like Riley, only where things just kind of happen with Riley. Ruth is the one that kind of makes them happen. And, most guys can't handle her because she's smart, she's sarcastic, she's, got that really dry sense of humor. And so I'm really looking forward to, writing her story just to explore that kind of personality. And anyway, when she, no spoiler alerts too much, but when she brought Charlie in and, and handed it to her brother, and then, and then when she said, he would get her fabulous peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and he's like, you can't even make those right. So it's different things like that in the stories that I really enjoy having and sharing. Ashur and Ross are definitely bad boys. They have that whole bad boy mentality, but in different ways. Of course, his is definitely the bad boy, and that, he's had a hard life, but he's got that also a good sense of humor. And, just this, he's got some bad habits that, it's going to come out, and it's going to be kind of hilarious seeing how he evolves as a person inside. I don't want to say too much because I know how the characters are going to evolve some, but until I actually start writing the story, that's when I really get to meet them and know them as the way like they're somebody that you meet at work or a family member. So these are some of the things that I wanted to talk to you tonight about. So first of all, I want to say hi to everybody that's coming on. So hi, Nikki. I see you. Hi, Dawn. Thank you. And I hope you enjoyed A Witch's Touch. Um, Nikki says the Seven Kingdoms series is so fantastic. I can't tell you how much that means to me. I'm going to be finishing this series out, so it's going to be like more bam, 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 bam than my other ones because of the fact I do know how many books are going to be in this one. There's going to be 8 books. Could there be more? Yes. But I'm not going there right now. I do know that there's going to be 8. And when I wrote the short stories, I only wrote the first 6. In fact, I ended up stopping on Ross because his was the one that finally told me, that's it. I've got to write the incomplete book. Because when I was writing the short story, you have to understand it was for a newsletter or for my website, so I had to be careful of how much I could put in there. And so I had to keep the length short, and I had to keep a lot of the spice and a lot of the action and adventure out. So there was a lot of the story missing, and a lot of why did this happen, why did that happen. And, you know, as I've gotten more into it, the stories have actually changed some, so that they're actually, to me, much better than they were. My husband always tells me that when I'm like sitting there bawling because I've lost like 4 chapters or, 10,000 words, and I'm like just a basket case. And he says, it'll be better the second time. And that's not exactly the reply that I wanted to hear. It's more like, I found your files that have disappeared. But he's right. Usually the second time, because I've had more time to think about it. And in this case, because I'm writing one back to back to back, I'm definitely in that world. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. And Nikki says she loved it. I can't get enough of it. And now I do have to warn you, the next book is The Sea Witch's Redemption. And it is a menage. So you're going to have the 2 guys and the Sea Witch. So it's going to be very steamy. So I just wanted to warn you that it's going to have a little bit more, it's going to have a lot more steam, like boiling water steam in this book. So I just wanted to warn you that this one is definitely going to be heating up quite a bit. Hi, Susan. Susan Brock is watching. Adriana and Nikki says awesome. So I think she likes that. And hello, Jean. I didn't miss you. So, getting back, I've had kind of like squirrels going on in my brain because I'm like working on so many different projects right now, but I'm really excited about all of them. I just have to remember the details. That's the biggest thing for me is I like to make sure I get all of the little detail. And A Witch's Touch, it was rather funny. When I was writing it, some of the things that were happening was I had one of my friends, she kept saying, well, are you done yet? And I'm like, no, the characters are still talking. And then she goes, are you done yet? And I said, no, the characters are still talking. And they still talked, and they talked, and they talked, and they talked some more. And then I got some input from my editors, and it's funny how they get attached to certain things. And 2 of them were both like, okay, I got to know what happened to Charlie. So I had to put more information in about Charlie and some scenes about what happened. So all of this over time, that's why the book ended up at almost 70,000 words. And if you don't think that that's a lot, wait until you sit down and you're typing 70,000 words. And then I want to say thank you because I know Linda Levy and I have to look up the name. She sent it to me today. I'll look it up and tell her a special thank you too. They did find 3 errors, and I have to little minor things. I think it's like I forget about an ed or I forget to insert a word. So I'm fixing that. So if I do have a couple of little boo-boos in there in 70,000 words, I apologize. I actually did over 60 edits. It was very, very time intensive, very thorough. We break it down chapter by chapter and then go through it. And I actually have one editor, Crystal, who reads the story out loud so that she can catch anything. So, I mean, it's like over and over and over. So it's not just me going through all these edits. It's also, I have about 9 people, including Jolanda in the Netherlands, Sally in England, Narelle in Australia, Julie in the United States, Debbie in the United States, Crystal is in the United States. Let's see, I'm missing somebody. It's a lot, I'm telling you. And I try to get, it's from people all over the world. So I have a wide variety of editors. So I try to give you the very, very best story that I can give you. I want to say hi to Chris. Chris is on now, and Angela Charles is here. Hi, Angela. Angela is in Florida, too. I don't know if I should tell everyone that, Angela is, but I won't tell them where you are. I'll just tell them that you're in Florida, and it's a big state. So there's a lot going on with the story. With A Witch's Touch, that's where my love for magic came about. But with it, there's also that certain responsibility. And I realized as I was writing it that, that they're, even though they're witches, they don't have like this incredible all-inclusive power. And I think that's what makes a story so good, is that not everyone can be strong all the time. And it's then you throw in a human and you're thinking, well, how could a human compare to somebody with magic? Well, in this case, there is a limiting factor, but we all have that power inside of ourselves. And a lot of times it's who you are. And I love the way that Mike appreciated Marina. He respected her and he looked to her. And I loved his sense of humor. He was serious, but he was also, willing to laugh at himself. And he was very, very protective of her and the others that are in the story. So I think seeing that vulnerability in a guy helps make him, to me, even stronger than if you have a guy that's all this, I'm kicking butt and I don't care about anyone else. So you'll see that a lot in my stories, especially and I'll share it with you in a few minutes, Edge that's coming up. And even the toughest guys can be in a situation to where they may still be tough, but they need a lot of help. And that's going to happen in my next book and my work in progress right now. I have to share something with you also that I was really excited about. Was an email that I received today from a reader, and she was thanking me for writing Pearl's Dragon, which is going to be coming out as a standalone in February. And one of the things that she said is that she loves my characters because I don't just write about the young, sexy, kick-ass girls, but I also write about the chubby, clumsy ones, or the, or should I say, as like I told my husband, because I know I've enjoyed the holidays a little bit too much. So I just told him I'm cute and cuddly right now. And so anyway, one of the things that happened was that she said, I'm glad that you write about older women and giving older women a chance. And that's, for me, love doesn't have an age limit. I've seen older couples falling in love all the time. We read about them all the time. And I think it's important to realize that you're never too old to fall in love. And you're never too old to find someone that is your soulmate. That's part of life. And we only get, the one shot at it. Might as well do everything we can to make it the best one we can. So that's why I'll occasionally write some of my older characters. So you'll see Edna, you'll see, Pearl, and I'll have a few other. For me, Paul was an older man. And I was like, oh man. So I do enjoy writing, like I said, a wide range of stuff, a wide range of characters. And I'm glad that you guys are sticking with me while I'm writing them. Let me say hi to some of the newcomers. Stephanie from Michigan. I know it's got to be cold up there. Adriana says, your stories are wonderful. Thank you for sharing them with us. And thank you. And Angela said, laughing out loud, it's okay. We're Florida girls. We have to stick together. And I agree. She says, Angie says, I can't get enough. I love your books. Thank you, Angie. And Andriana says, it's great. You have a variety of ages and body shapes. Because that's what makes it so exciting, is we all come in different sizes and everything. And I'm going to share a personal story with you. To let you know just how hurtful people can be. And sometimes you wonder if they're aware of it. But it's really how you handle it. And I'll be the first to admit, but I met someone that I hadn't seen in years. And I had gone out of state. And I went to see her, just to say hello, because we hadn't seen each other. And she said, if I come by there, please stop by and see it. Well, the first thing she says is, and she goes, oh my God. And she starts laughing. And she says, you're fat. I'm so glad that, because she's slim. And she says, I never thought I'd see you that way. And I just kind of looked at her and I said, first of all, my first thought was, okay, yeah, no, this is not happening. I'm going to turn around and walk away. And then I thought, you know what? I'm not fat. I've got a mature womanly figure. I feel good. I feel like I could kick butt in the world. It's not my issue. And that's been my attitude. I'm me. And if you don't like me, you don't have to be around me. Not everyone is skinny. Not everyone, the world would be a pretty boring place if it was. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but so I just wanted to share that story with you to let you know. We all come in different sizes and shapes. Be proud of who you are and let them know. We don't have to answer to anyone. All right, so there is that. So you're going to see that kind of attitude in my book. So if the girls come up and they're like, yeah, then you know. Pam says, hi from San Antonio, hi. Linda says, hi from Kansas. Wow, I know Kansas has got to be cold right now. See, what else is we going? And Nikki says, yes, you go, girl. Ooh, it's called, ooh, what am I doing? Uh-oh. Hold on, I just pulled loose. I'm back. Can you guys hear me? Yes, no, maybe? Let me know. Brisbane. Hello from Brisbane. Is it warm there? Krista is on. And Liberty, North Carolina. And Pam says yes. Does yes mean you guys can hear me? Yes, good. I just got a new cord and everything. And of course, I move around a lot when I'm talking. So I tend to pull things out. So it's going to be a learning lesson. Getting back to, all right, so the next book is going to be The Sea Witch's Redemption, and then after that, it's going to be Ruth and the King of the Giants. So if you've read A Witch's Touch, you've met Magna, and you've also met Ruth. So, and Ross, who will come in after that. So you have a lot of characters, and then after Ross's book is going to be Ashur's, the Pirate King, and then the last book will be Nalia, the Empress of the Sea Monsters, or of the Monsters. So there's a lot of things going on. Oh my goodness, Nikki says she is currently in Japan, near Tokyo. Oh, what time is it there? Hopefully you're not too late. I know Brisbane, it's probably about mid-morning, maybe early afternoon. So I know our nights and their mornings are kind of switched. And Krista says the Pirate King drooling. I'm looking forward to writing his, and I've got the perfect um, mate for him. And I have to tell you, some of you may want to be kind of keeping an eye out, because I'm kind of picking names at random. So you may see your names in the stories. So just to give you a warning, I've been picking names like I've mentioned that before that I was going to do. And so you may see yourself in one of my stories, just to let you know. So now I'm going to talk about my work in progress. So my work in progress right now is I'm working on Edge of Defiance, and then I will be finishing up Twin Dragon's Destiny. I have to admit that I am really, really enjoying the stories. Edge of Defiance is in my Alliance series, and Edge was introduced actually all the way back with, well, I know in Challenging Saber, I think I also had him, I have to look back because I go through all of the books, and there was a scene in Saber's book where Saber was chasing Taylor right after they first caught him, and it was in the cafeteria, and Sword and Edge were sitting there watching what was going on and laughing at Saber. And then again, you saw where Dagger and Edge were together and then were separated in Dagger's book. So this is where Edge is coming in his story. And as it's coming, it's evolving. And I have a lot of action and adventure in my stories. Probably, I don't know if I have more so than most writers. It's been a while since I've read some of the others, but I enjoy having, there's a lot going on. I enjoy the story. So anyway, I'm going to read an excerpt for you from Edge of Insanity. Now this is the unedited version, and I'm reading it, so please forgive me. So let's see. Are you guys ready? Curious, he rubbed his lips against hers. This time, his body stiffened in surprise when her lips parted and she ran her tongue along his top lip. Sliding his arm under her head, he rubbed his lips across hers again. "You are such a tease," she muttered, sliding her hands up his arms to his shoulders. "If you are going to kiss me, you might as well do it. Because I have to tell you, this might be the only chance you get, darling." Edge relieved a small grunt of disagreement at her words. He liked having her under him. For the past 3 weeks, the woman under him had kept him from giving up. The first 2 weeks had been pure living hell. If he had thought he'd been through torture before, what he experienced the first few days proved that a warrior could have his insides ripped apart while being eaten alive. Bailey had called it withdrawals. Lena had called it a living hell. In one of his lucid moments, he'd asked her to explain what that meant. A shiver ran through his body at the memory. He felt her stiffen and pull back as far as she could until she could see his face. "Are you okay?" she asked, her gaze moving over his face. A wry smile curved Edge's lips. "No," he answered, pressing his hips down. "Will you make me feel better?" The worry in her eyes dissolved. "I swear you've been hanging out with Andy and Marla too long," she said, pushing against his chest. Move before I make you hurt there in a different way." Edge chuckled. Instead of moving off of her, he bent his head and rubbed his nose along her cheek. Pleasure swept through him at the intimate act of a male of his species showing affection to a female. "I don't want you to go out without me," he stated. Lena turned her head to the side. Edge took advantage of her exposing her slender neck to him to bend and nip the soft flesh. He was rewarded when her hips jerked. A soft hiss slipped from her lips when she felt his increased desire. "I have to go. You are well enough to be left with the others. Just don't try to do anything stupid, or I've given them permission to kick your ass out," she murmured, her hands going back and forth between pushing him away and pulling him closer. "What the hell are you doing? I am courting you. It is something I learned on your planet. There was a nurse there named Chelsea. She was very interesting. Her husband Thomas was also very enlightening," Edge replied, pressing his lips over her pulsing vein. "I want to mark you as mine." "You want to?" "Oh, hell no." "Move," Lena said, pushing harder this time. Edge rolled to the side, confused by Lena's panicked tone. She rolled the opposite direction, half falling from the bed before she straightened. Edge sat up and watched her run a nervous hand over her dark brown hair before she adjusted her shirt. Rising to his feet, he frowned when she stepped back a couple of feet. "What is wrong?" Edge asked. He took a step toward her, only to pause when she held out her hand and took another step away from him. Her throat moved nervously up and down along with her hands. Finally, she released a barely audible curse and looked up at him. "Listen. I know that you think you are attracted to me in some sort of way, but it isn't real. I mean, you may think it is real, but it really isn't. Real, I mean. I think they probably have some fancy name for it in the medical or science world. I was never very good at either one, so I couldn't tell you what it might be. I just know that it is something that makes a person feel like there's something real when there really isn't, and I really don't think we should go there, if you know what I mean," she finished in a voice that faded on the last word. Confused, he returned her gaze. "I fear I do not understand any of what you just said. Can you repeat it?" he asked, rubbing his hand over the back of his neck. So that is not a very good reading, but that's a reading from Edge of Insanity. So, and it's a little bit of a naughty one. It gets better. Trust me, it gets better after that. But I love his sense of humor, where he's trying to learn her and her sense of humor, because you could actually see this happening where she's trying to explain this stuff and she's using a lot of Earth terminology and talking, and he's just like going, "What the heck are you talking about?" So it's fun listening to the characters come alive in that way and their interactions together. All right, so okay, here comes, I'm going to go back up. Nikki said it is 10 a.m. where she's at. It's 11 a.m. in Brisbane. Hi, Tristina. I know Tristina. She goes, "I made it." Pam wants Twin Dragons. And yes, Twin Dragons Destiny will be coming out after that. I'll have an excerpt, hopefully for you, that I could read to you. If not next week, then the week after. But it'll give you something to look forward to. In the meantime, so I have Edge of Insanity. I have Pearl coming out first. I'm working on Edge. I'm working on Twin Dragons, which that one is going to be fun. And after Twin Dragons, I will tell you that Anna Katira will be getting her story. So I do know that that's going to be the order. So yes, there's going to be more. And I will have to also say, I do know that Crystal in... you met Crystal in The Old Dragon of the Mountain, the young girl, and her family, which is Edna's granddaughter. There's going to be stories with her as well. So there's a lot going on. So the Dragon Lords are still going to have more stories to come as well. And then I also, my goal for this year, I do have 2 books coming out for Cosmos Gateway, which I've sadly neglected that series, so we're going to have Course Attack first, which I know everybody was going, how could you put book 7 up for pre-order first before you have book 6 up? Well, the pre-orders, let me explain that, are with paperback, are different than with ebook. With ebook, I'm only allowed a 90-day window. Paperback, they actually require a longer period of time. And so it takes a little bit more. They're through two different distributors, even though one shows up on Amazon. They're through different distributors. So it's I'm still getting my footing with this new distributor for paperback, and I'm kind of iffy as to whether I'm going to continue using them. So the good thing is my books will stay, as you can see. I'll kind of tilt this way. You'll see my books. There will be the books, and behind me, still available for paperback if you want them. But I just want to let you know it's a whole different process than the ebook, a lot more complicated and more hoops to jump through. Andriana says she loves the Dragon Lord series. I love dragons, period. My sister is like really into it. Her whole house is decorated up in dragons. But I've always had a fascination with them because of the fact that there's something so majestic about them. There's the strength, the beauty, and it just really gets me that Hollywood wants to make all these movies where the dragon's the bad guy. It's like, really? They're not that bad. Make them Aragon, the dragons aren't bad. So, come on, make a good movie where the dragon is the good guy. I like that. Hi, Juanita. Juanita's watching as well now. I needed to read it a couple of times, Andriana, and then I'd have it better. I can read it in my head faster. Part of the problem is the glare on my glasses. So I'm trying to look at you guys. I have my iPad here, so I'm trying to read it, and I've got the glare, so it's kind of like, okay, I should have blown it up a little bit so that the print's bigger. Jean asked me if they will be in KU. Let me explain the difference with KU. Now, if I put my books in KU, then that means I'm not allowed to put them anywhere else. And that means that anyone who's Nook or Kobo or iBook or Google Play, any of those readers would not be able to get the books. And so I've only got 2 books at the moment in KU. Those 2 books are with my Magic New Mexico series. And it was kind of hard to make that decision to put those books in there. The only reason I did is because I do have the Magic New Mexico Kindle World, and Amazon made changes and put the books available, all of the Kindle World books in KU. So, that's kind of good. The bad thing is, and you may not realize this, is KU doesn't pay an author very much. We're not even talking pennies. We're talking fractions of a penny. So they actually pay a ridiculous amount, less than half of a cent per page read. So, if I put all of my books in KU, there's a good chance that I would have to basically quit writing and go back to work somewhere else because I wouldn't be able to make a living. And even now, things are really, really tight because of the way that they've done KU. It's really hurt a lot of authors. It's helped some, but it's also hurt a lot of others. And it's one of those catch-22s, and if I'm going to make a living at this so that I can stay home and do the writing, then I have to do what's right for me. Another problem is, and many of you may understand this, is if you take everything and you just put it in one basket, what happens if something happens to that basket? So if I took all my books and I put them all in KU, then there's a good chance that, if I have everything in there, and then if they decide to do away with it, or they decide not to pay or anything, and you've always got those chances. And I just, for me, I'm always been kind of cautious. I don't know if it's just being the mom and having to, always make the money stretch from this day to this day to this day. With 4 kids, it was always very, very careful about what I did and the decisions I made. So, will some of my books end up in KU? Yes. But not the majority of them, because I just don't feel like that's a good fit for me right now. But I'm glad that you asked, because I think it's important that people understand why an author makes that decision. It's definitely a personal one, but again, if I were to go into KU, then I would have to go get a job. I wouldn't be able to make it on my income as an author then. I wouldn't be able to stay home. And, so it's a struggle, but it's part of being in business for yourself. And being an author is also being in business. So, next question. Let's see. Oh, Pam says she was hoping that Crystal would have a story. I knew when I wrote Crystal's story, first of all, I'm sitting there bawling. And then I was bawling at the beginning of the book, and then I was bawling in the middle of the book, then I was bawling at the end of the book, and I was like, okay, she's got to have her story. So I'm definitely going to do that. So that's going to be one of my upcoming works in progress. But before that, of course, I've got my Cosmos Gateway, which Nikki also mentioned. Cosmos Gateway, I've got Core's Attack, which is going to be book 6, and that is going to be Core and Avery's story. And I need to write that one before I get to Runt's story, because Runt plays a big part in Avery's story, but Avery also plays a big part in bringing Runt in. And so they're kind of like hand in hand, where they have to work together. And so I'll be writing Core's Attack, which I absolutely love the cover for it. Melanie did a fabulous job on that one. And then I'm going to write Runt and Derek's story. It's funny, one of the other things that, and this is a story that's going to be down the line, but Dalla's story. And again, this isn't one of my best-selling series, but it's one of those that kind of capture your heart. And this is my Second Chance series. And we were doing some tweaking on a book today. And at the end of the book, they had my Laura Lee, the little girl that works for me, she put in an excerpt from Touching Rune. And of course, I'm sitting there and I'm like flicking through, and next thing you know, I'm found myself reading. And it was just like I was just reading the story and falling in love with it all over again. And I think that's one of the magics when you can read the story that you wrote, and it's not like I wrote. Oh. Let's see. Am I still on? I hit a button. I'm pretty bad about hitting buttons when I shouldn't. Turn quiet mode on, swipe to left. Yes, thank you. So, I do have the cover for Dalla's story. So, and that one's been actually playing in my mind over and over and over for about 3 or 4 years now. So I know I'm going to end up writing that. Yes, there's going to be more of the Cruzians. I've got Adlar's story coming up. I know I've been saying that. I haven't forgotten him. I've got his cover. So this year is one of those years where I'm kind of like trying to stay focused, which I have quite a few people just laughing, saying, yeah, you focused? That's not likely. But it's one of the things that I think is important for me this year. Is I told my husband, even if he has to take me out in the woods and just drop me off, he actually did that when we were camping in January. It's kind of like my way of getting away. And it was interesting, I'd share a little tidbit of fact, that he was reading, I think it was, it may have been a podcast that he was listening to. And it was talking about the different authors, how they need to, get away. And J.K. Rowling is one of them that has to get away where it's nice and quiet. And Mark Twain actually had a little place that he was so far away that they would have to ring a bell because that was the only way he could hear that it was dinner time. But it's Ernest Hemingway was another one. He had the big house, but behind the house, there's, if you've ever been down to Key West, if you haven't, it's really cool, is they have cats with 6 toes. And anyway, he had a place upstairs where he would go, and that was his place for writing. And I found, the more and more that I do this, that I need to find quiet places to just kind of go off and, hide. Being in my office is kind of nice, but it's small and it's cluttered because I have so much stuff. And I found that being outside, I like to listen to music, and I love being outside. So it seems to calm me down and just kind of like open up all of these thoughts and everything else. So I'm able to do a lot more writing. So, Municipal is here. Vicki says she wants more Riley. Riley and Tina are both definitely, and Pearl, but definitely Riley and Tina will be more into Adelar's story. And Adelar is going to end up with his hands full because he, of course, and then Bahadur. Bahadur will have his story as well. So he's going to meet up with Tony. So there's just, that's one reason why I need to find a quiet spot so I can write all of these different stories. I was going to talk about, let's see, one of the other things I was going to talk about. I was talking about my Witch's Touch, which I did. All of the stuff I wanted to do this year. Gave you a sample of Edge of Insanity, which is coming up. And I hope you guys are really excited about it. And just mostly say hi, everyone, and welcome to February, which I can't believe it's already the second month of this year. And I hope that everyone has had a wonderful, safe winter so far. It's been really, really cold up north. Kat Dickerson was telling me this morning that it was -2 degrees Celsius this morning, and it was supposed to drop down to a -16 this morning, or tonight. And then I've noticed that in Australia, they've had some really extreme weather, especially the heat and the dryness. So it's, just different places around the world. I want everyone to be safe. And if you can, please, if you've read A Witch's Touch, don't forget to write a review. Those are extremely important. And what else? Let's see. Share, if you guys don't mind. If you really enjoy the stories, please just, if you can kind of help encourage people to take a chance on my books. I have quite a few free ones out there. I definitely appreciate that. There's been a lot of changes with Facebook lately. And of course, Amazon, because I'm not in KU, tends to push me down and hide me underneath everyone. So if you guys don't mind helping get the word out and let people know that I write really great books, I'd appreciate it. And I think I'm going to call it a night. It's already 8:30. And I want to say thank you for coming out tonight. And I will see you next Thursday. Have a great night. Bye.